The Sunday school lesson for April 16th, 2023 is Jesus Cooks Breakfast, John chapter 21, verses 1 through 14. To my subscribers and viewers, welcome to my channel, The Backstory. I am Audrey. If you are new here, please know that on this channel, you will become aware of the events that take place before each Sunday school lesson. The agenda is as follows. I will share the backstory, read the lesson text, and offer a brief lesson summary. Remember to subscribe, like, and share to help me grow my channel one subscriber and one viewer at a time. Thank you in advance for your support. Jesus' appearances following resurrection. Today's text is the first part of an extended narrative detailing one of Jesus' appearances following his resurrection, an account recorded only by John. As the text opens, John has already recounted events from the day of the resurrection itself. Mary Magdalene, finding Jesus' tomb empty, told Simon Peter and the other disciple, apparently John himself, that Jesus' body had been taken. The two rushed to the tomb to see for themselves. Then Jesus appeared to Mary, confirming that he was indeed raised from the dead. John chapter 20, verses 11 through 18. Later that same day, the first day of the week, Jesus appeared to his disciples in a locked room. He appeared to them again a week later, that time addressing Thomas, who had been absent before. That man needed and received personal, tangible evidence that Jesus really was alive. John chapter 20, verses 24 through 28. The appearance to Thomas is, in certain ways, the climax of John's gospel in light of Jesus' statement, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not yet seen and yet have believed." John then immediately informs us of the many other signs or miracles that Jesus performed. John's purpose statement, John chapter 20, verses 30 through 31. Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. That purpose statement could be a good place for this gospel to conclude, but there is yet a bit of unfinished business with the apostles in general and Peter in particular. Our Sunday school lesson begins at this point. The golden text or the key verse. Jesus said to him, "Come and have breakfast." None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. John chapter 21, verse 12. Verse 1. Afterward, Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee. It happened this way. Verse 2. Simon Peter, Thomas, also known as Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and two other disciples were together. Verse 3. "I'm going out to fish," Simon Peter told them, and they said, "We'll go with you." So they went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Verse 4. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. Verse 5. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. Verse 6. He said, Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some. When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Verse 7. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, "It is the Lord," he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken it off, and jumped into the water. Verse 8. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from shore, about 100 yards. Verse 9. When they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it and some bread. Verse 10. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you have just caught." Verse 11. So Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153, but even with so many, the net was not torn. Verse 12. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Verse 13. Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. Verse 14. This was now the third time Jesus appeared to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. A brief summary. This chapter provides a postscript to John's Gospel. Jesus had risen and had proven himself to be alive to his apostles. He was about to send them on a world-changing mission. Yet one issue was left unresolved. Peter, the bold and brash fisherman, still had bitter memories of the night Jesus was arrested. Although he had boasted of having superior devotion to any of the others, his pride ended with a fall. He denied Jesus 3 times, just as Jesus had predicted. John did not clearly describe Peter's attitude in the days after the resurrection, but it is not hard to imagine resignation in his voice when he said, "I'm going out to fish." Thomas, Nathanael, James, John, and 2 other disciples went with Peter, but after that night of fishing, they caught nothing. Jesus carefully orchestrated a scene that would remind Peter of the day Jesus first called him to be a disciple. In both instances, Peter and his fellow fishermen spent a fruitless night in the boat. But at Jesus' command in both cases, they made a miraculous haul with a single pass of the nets. This time, however, the catch was different than the one when Jesus first called Peter. In this case, the nets held a number of fish so plentiful that John saw fit to count them. What is more unlike the first time, the nets held without breaking and the boat stayed afloat without sinking. Peter himself may have felt broken with a sinking feeling, but that was not the case with this catch. Could Peter's relationship with Jesus be mended and his spirits lifted? The excitement was obvious when John recognized Jesus as the one giving fishing advice. Peter literally jumped into the water to get back to shore. Soon Peter found himself around a fire of burning coals, similar to the one where he had denied Jesus. Jesus wanted Peter to remember his call to be a disciple, and Jesus also wanted Peter to remember those 3 denials. The number 3 is very significant in this account. Peter was still stinging because of his 3 denials of Jesus. John pointed out that this was the third time Jesus appeared to his disciples gathered as a group. Thank you so much for watching. Join me soon for the next backstory. Stay safe and may God bless.